3 helpful habits that actually killed my corporate anxiety. Today's episode is sponsored by Billy Keels Advisory Services. If you want to learn more about how to make your 9 to 9 optional, just go to makeitoptional.com. Once again, that's makeitoptional.com. Today, I'm going to share with you 3 helpful habits that helped me kill my corporate anxiety. If you don't want to hear about how you can start to build momentum, how you can get over these anxious feelings and all that stuff, then you should probably stop listening right now. If you're interested in how to figure out how to stop to kill that corporate anxiety, the one that's creeping up in your gut, the one that's keeping you up at night, you're waking up trying to figure out what it is that you have to do so you can get to the first email. Like, this is going to be one of the brief episodes that's going to really help you, because it's going to give you some insight from my own experience on the 3 helpful habits that I'm now recognizing that helped actually kill my corporate anxiety. And believe it or not, a lot of people were watching from the outside and they would have never, ever thought that this guy, a corporate A player, top talent person, was actually performing really well in the office, performing well at home, and also too on the side job. Yeah, anxiety exists. It's a real thing. And a lot of it was coming from the corporate world. So I want to share with you, like, literally these 3 helpful habits, because they really, really made a massive impact on me. And towards the end, got me like really, really performing at an even higher level and feeling much more in harmony with my life and my work. And I'm sure that they're going to be helpful for you. And if it's not for you, it's someone that you know. Because the thing is, like, before I really, truly understood how to navigate through corporate, I used to stress about all this stuff. Like, I used to stress that I was not actually overperforming against the target, that I was going to start to lose my way, and that I may not make it to the big trip for the top achievers at the end of the year. Or I started to feel like maybe the role that I was in wasn't the right one. It wasn't aligned with where I really thought I was supposed to go. And then this was probably more of an ego thing, but I used to watch other colleagues move up the ladder. I felt like I was doing the same amount of work, but you know what? I stayed put, or I didn't go as far as they went. But then I also started realizing later on in life that I realized that I wasn't willing to do what they were doing to get where they were going. But in the moment, it was just creating a lot more anxiety. That's why I'm sharing it with you. And then there's also this other thing where at that point in time, I was trying to figure out how I managed the time so that I had the goals for family and for business. Like, everything was in balance, right? I had that perfect work-life balance. That's what I was looking for. Talk about anxiety and wanting to do that. Like, that is literally why I spent an entire episode talking about why top achievers should try something other than trying to achieve work-life balance. Because work-life balance, it ain't a real thing. If you're a top achiever, if you are an A performer, you really need to go check out episode 492, but don't do it now. Write it down, click it in the show notes. It'll be there for you, but check out 492, because work-life balance, nah, that thing's not going to work for you, A player, top talent person, corporate. It's just not. Check out 492. And then lastly, I also got to this point, and I know I'm going to completely do an episode on this because this is something that it has to be talked about. I really started feeling like I was balancing. I couldn't understand how to balance my loyalty to my employer. I started feeling anxious about it, right? Because I knew that because I was overperforming. I was doing like a lot of extra hours, like many hours over the 40 hours a week, like probably double that, especially when there was a moment that was about getting a client across the line, getting a new contract signed, or whatever the case may be. So I started losing the balance between my job and my own dreams and goals. Like, all of these different things I was having problems like actually navigating, and it was causing me some anxiety. And at the end of the day, you know what it was? Like, it was about always holding myself to the standard of someone else, always wanting to be the reliable one, the one who's successful, the one who continues to contribute, all of these kinds of things. And you know what? On the outside, that's what it was. And at the same time, I just wanted to create some positive momentum that was constantly moving forward, like progress, being able to feel like I set the plan was continuing to move, and I was constantly building momentum, positive, and keeping my positive energy flowing. But when you're working in your corporate role, if you don't have it right, if you were doing corporate, or if you're doing corporate today the way that I was doing it in the beginning, it can be tough because you're trying to please everybody. That's the whole thing. That's why I'm going to share these 3 habits with you, right? And hopefully, because you've been listening, you've been watching, some of these will not be brand new. I know there's one that's not going to be brand new because I did a whole episode on it. But with perspective, when you're having these anxious feelings, there are 3 habits that will definitely help you to kill the corporate anxiety because it helped me to kill it. Because at a certain point, you can feel stuck when you're trying to be jack of all trades and master of none, or Jane of all trades and mistress of none, if you can even say that. But most importantly, it was about feeling stuck in my own personal progress. Because when you're a top achiever, when you're an A player, when you're the one who's continuing to do that, like when you feel like personally you cannot progress anymore, it doesn't matter what the title is. It doesn't matter what the amount of income you have or even the bonus check, because that's part of what makes you great, is that you have this personal progress, and the barometer is you are the only one that can set it. And you are the only one that can get close to it and achieve it. And when you feel like you're not making your personal progress, things can get bad for everybody. Ask me how I know. Right. But then the thing is as I was going through and dealing with all these different ideas and different feelings and different thoughts, I started realizing if I just looked around that there were other people that I was working with, literally working in the enterprise software space, that were leading large organizations as well, leading big teams, managing businesses that were in the 7-8 figures. It just got to a point where I realized, like, I've got POCs all around me. POCs, you know what it is. Say it out loud. I know you're driving. POC, proof of concept. I had them all over the place. Other coworkers, other colleagues, people that were ahead of me, even people that hadn't taken the same number of promotions that I'd taken. Guess what? They were in their individual contributor role and they were just happy, just fine. But because I had these different proofs of concept around me, I realized, oh my gosh, this is another moment to stop and figure out what it is. So these 3 habits that help me kill the corporate anxiety, I got to share them with you, because I don't want you to suffer the same way that I was suffering silently. I didn't even realize it. But because I now realize it, I want to share it with you so that you don't have to. And if it's not you, you know somebody who's in corporate. You know somebody who's actually going through the exact same things that I was going through, that I just described to you. Take the episode, share it with them. Make sure you do that. Okay? So here's the thing. So, of course, because I like structure and I like to put plans together, ask anybody who knows me. They will tell you this about me. So at this point in time, I realized I've got all these kind of feelings that are going on. And I realized that there were certain things that I needed to do so that I could start to get back control, because I was already free. Everybody, I say it all the time, I was not around people that needed freedom. Everybody was already free. We just wanted control. And so when I wanted to have control over the way that I was feeling, one of the first things that I started doing, I started putting into practice like this whole mindfulness. And I started really having a very clear morning practice. I did a whole episode on this one too. I'll tell you what that number is, but I got up in the morning and I literally created a month, 31 and a quarter days, a year I created. Why? Because I wanted more control. I wanted the feeling of control of what was happening, the outcomes that I was producing. So I got up in the morning at 4 a.m. and spent 4 to 7 in the morning by myself, working on the stuff. I dedicated time to myself, my goals, to be able to advance. And you know what? I got a lot of fresh ideas. I got a lot of mental clarity, and I got a lot of positive vibes, massive amounts of positive vibes. And so then even outside, I started being recognized for someone who was completely focused and productive. And that's what I wanted. It's what I wanted in that moment in time. So the morning clarity practice, it really started to help me. And then afterwards, and this is tough, right? Because I'm a recovering perfectionist. And one of the things is you can't just create these massive plans and then go get the massive plans. Massive plans. I started saying, how can I get to that? Well, you know what? I'm going to have just some success. That's small steps, small success steps. That was it. Trust you're enjoying today's episode. Once again, when you're ready to make your 9 to 9 optional, just go to makeitoptional.com. Once again, that's makeitoptional.com. Let's get back to the episode. Focusing on small wins every single day, every single week, that started to build the path towards the optionality that I was looking for. When that happened, I started seeing new career opportunities inside of my company. I started seeing new opportunities for growth outside of my company, personal growth opportunities for myself. And it helped me to come up with even more creative solutions inside and outside of my corporate role. That's the whole point. And it gave me the confidence to continue to act with even more purpose, be more purposeful in the things that I was doing, being more intentional and feeling confident about what I was doing. Small success steps. That was the second thing. And then lastly, and this, it's going to seem like really counterintuitive, especially when you're performing well in your corporate role. But guess what? I started networking outside of corporate. I did. Believe it or not, there were things that I wanted to do that were not in line, or there wasn't the knowledge base or the practical experience. So I looked to network outside of my corporate role. Seemed like a thing in the time. I didn't really understand why I wanted to do it. Well, yeah, I did, because I was going down a particular path and I couldn't find that knowledge, because this was about investing in tangible assets in the beginning, and there was no one around me that had the experience that I was looking for. So I had to look for and network outside of corporate while I was in corporate. And it was okay, because I was still overperforming against my targets. So I started opening my eyes. I started seeing new career possibilities, new life possibilities, when I was actually networking, meeting people, creating intentional relationships outside of my corporate role. And so inside and outside of my corporate role, I remember, like, there's one conversation that, well, I can't really talk about it here, but through a negotiation, when I was talking about my boss and my boss's boss, and it just gave me a new way of even seeing things outside of the traditional limits of the corporate role. Like, things that I was learning outside of corporate helped me perform even better in corporate. You get it? And so I started connecting with people that were on their own paths. And by watching other people that were on their own paths, it gave me a lot more confidence. It gave me a new way of seeing things. And it also ultimately helped me in my role. And it helped me also be able to build my business, give me more confidence with my family. It was amazing. Right. And so that's the thing. I put this plan together, and it had three really simple things. And these are the three habits that help me actually kill my corporate anxiety. And that's why I'm sharing it with you. Number one, got morning clarity and practice. Go check out episode 402. I talked to you specifically about the exact plan that I used to create 31 days a year additional. Like, instead of 12 months, 13, because of the way that the exact steps. Literally, go listen to episode 402, and you too can create a month, up to a month, by following that exact plan. After morning clarity practice, small success steps. That's it. And lastly, networking beyond corporate. These three habits alone. Now, it wasn't easy, because there's always, like, I was in corporate over 2.5 decades. So of course there's a lot of part of my DNA that wants to continue to do the things all the way, every day, the way that I was taught, right? But by being able to incorporate these three helpful habits, my corporate anxiety was smashed. I killed it. And I want you to be able to do it, especially if you're feeling anxious during the day in your corporate role, because it goes from 9 to 9, or like somebody told me the other day, it goes 7 to 11 in his role, because he was so high up the chain that he's like a convenience store, is what he told me. And I know you're listening. If you're listening, if you're watching, shouts out to you. You know who you are. Anyway, those are the three habits: morning clarity practice, small step successes, and networking beyond corporate. Like I said, it wasn't easy. It was simple, though. That's the thing. It's simple. And so it got me to a feeling of helping me feel and recognize that I could be successful. But more importantly, what I realized is that I could go from having all of this doubt and anxiety, and by putting these three steps into place, these three healthy habits, I went from being like dreadfully anxious and having all this doubt, to a point where I was actually crystal clear, so crystal clear that it became quantifiable, the things that I wanted to be able to do, the benefits for me, mental clarity, and also being able to be where my feet were, because I knew that I wasn't looking for balance anymore. I was looking for harmony between my life and my work. And so that's exactly why I'm sharing this with you. If you actually, and if you want to even find out more about the clarity piece, how you get to quantifiable clarity, do yourself a favor. Go check out episode 481. It's really going to help you. All right. So listen, this has been, well, I'm just glad that I got a chance to share this with you, because I do talk to people, and I'm talking to people on through social media channels, and those of you that are reaching out to me directly. And I know this topic comes up, and it's one that I wanted to share with you, because if you have anxiety that comes from what you're doing, because you're a high performer in your corporate role, you're a high performer because you're doing things outside of corporate, and you also want to continue to be the reliable one, it's bound to happen. Use these three healthy habits. It's going to help you to kill your corporate anxiety. and it's going to help you to start to get closer to the life that you want to lead. So as you're doing that, and if this is not you, it's somebody that you know. So take today's episode, share it with that person, share it with your loved ones. But more importantly, when you listen to it and share it, talk about it. What works for you? What can you actually, is it the morning clarity practice? Can you start that? And maybe it's not 4 a.m, but maybe you wake up at 5 or 5:30 and it's something else that you're doing. What are the little small success steps that you can put in your life? You don't have to hit the grand slam. It doesn't need to be a touchdown. Just get a first down. And then lastly, it's okay to go beyond the corporate walls. You can meet and gain insight from other people. Which one of the three is the one that's going to work for you? It's going to help you to get to that point where you're becoming clear, confident, and you're moving forward and making progress. Whatever it is, be sure to share it with me. And while you're doing that, while you're sharing today's episode, you're talking to other people, I'll be here. I'll be preparing for the very next episode. So until then, go out and make it a great day. And thank you very, very much. Today's episode is sponsored by Billy Keels Advisory Services. If you want to learn more about how to make your 99 optional, just go to makeitoptional.com. Once again, that's makeitoptional.com.